So picture this. You're the supreme commander of a galactic empire. You've conquered 12 galaxies. You decide to declare war on some tiny single-star system species, and what do you get back? Not fear, not a surrender. You get laughter. Today, we're going to unravel the story of a 1,000-year-old mistake and a power shift so massive it broke an empire.
Right. So this is the scene on the bridge of the Kian flagship. Supreme Commander Zorak, a guy from a species that hasn't lost a war in millennia, gets this completely unbelievable report. His lieutenant is just mortified. The most powerful military in the known universe has just become a punchline.
And that's the big question, isn't it? What could possibly give this little isolated species, humanity, the nerve to just laugh in the face of an empire whose warships can literally blot out suns? Is this just a colossal bluff? Or is something way, way more terrifying going on here? To really get the laughter, first we have to get the Kian Empire. I mean, their confidence didn't just come out of nowhere. It was built on a history of absolute, total domination and one huge 1,000-year-old blind spot. Just look at the scale we're talking about here. The Killian Empire isn't just some local power player. They are the power. We're talking trillions of soldiers, a 10,000-year winning streak. From where they're sitting, humanity should have been nothing more than a Tuesday, a quick, easy win. And here is the fatal mistake. Their intelligence report. The Killian are basing their entire strategy on what they saw a full millennium ago, back when humanity was just figuring out how to get off its own planet. The reality now? They have no idea. The very treaty they thought protected humanity actually just put a blindfold on them. And this number right here is the whole story. 1,000 years. You have to understand, for the Kendroian, a species that took 15,000 years just to get interstellar travel working, a millennium is nothing. It's a blink. They just couldn't imagine what a species like us could do with that kind of time.
And this quote, oh man, this is the moment of pure, uncut arrogance. His own intelligence chief basically admits they're flying blind, that they have no clue what humanity's been up to. And Zorak's response is just this. This one decision, born from sheer hubris, sealed his armada's fate before they even fired a single shot.
All right, so the Kian Armada jumps into the Sol system. They're expecting something, a fleet, defensive satellites, anything. Instead, what they get is this spooky, absolute silence. So the fleet cruises past Pluto, then Neptune, then Uranus, and still, just dead air. No warning shots, no fleet scrambling to meet them. To Zorak, this feels like human overconfidence, which he sees as a sure sign of defeat. But he's dead wrong. That quiet is a trap.
And then they get to Saturn, and this is the exact moment when everything changes. The science officer reports something that should be physically impossible. The planet's rings, which are supposed to be just ice and rock, are moving. They're shifting against the laws of orbital mechanics. The trap is about to spring. And then, suddenly, the rings just resolve. They're not made of ice and rock. They're ships. Billions of them. An armada so massive it makes the Kian fleet look like a tiny scouting party. They were hiding there the whole time, perfectly disguised, just waiting. Zorak is just stunned. He can't process it. How could they possibly build so many ships? And then Admiral Monroe pops up on his screen and explains it with this chillingly simple statement. They don't build ships anymore, not like the Kian do. This isn't just better manufacturing, it's a completely different way of existing. So the battle starts, and I'm putting battle in air quotes because it's less of a fight and more of a brutal, one-sided tech demo. This wasn't a war, it was an execution. Yeah, the human ships, they don't even fire at the Kian shields. Why would they? They just pass right through them, like they're ghosts. They phase through solid metal, and then poof, they just dissolve the Kian warships into a cloud of atoms. It's not warfare, it's weaponized physics. And this is the final humiliation. The truth bomb that shatters Zorak's entire worldview. Admiral Monroe lays it all out. The treaty was never about protecting primitive little humanity. It was about quarantining the stagnant Kian Empire from a humanity that was evolving at a terrifying rate. This was humanity's diagnosis of the Kimian 1,000 years ago. They looked at them and saw a species that had basically peaked. They were conquerors who had forgotten how to create, how to innovate. So humans just put them in a timeout, hoping they might figure things out on their own. And, as if turning 20 of their biggest warships into dust wasn't enough, Admiral Monroe decides to give Zorak one final demonstration. Something to make absolutely sure the Qian Empire would never, ever forget this day. A show of force that goes way beyond destruction and into the realm of pure creation.
The speed and scale here are just insane. The entire human fleet, billions of ships, work together to literally build a planet from scratch. They bend space-time itself and create a perfect copy of Saturn in just over 2 minutes. This isn't just advanced tech, this is basically playing God. Well, after that, the Qian Armada turns around and limps home in absolute disgrace. But the story isn't over. This humiliating defeat forces the entire empire to face its own stagnation and starts it on a completely new journey. The war of guns is over. The war for their very identity has just begun.
And this, right here, is the turning point. Zorak, the arrogant conqueror, comes home a changed being. He's been stripped of all his pride, and he gives his people the only advice that can save them. Not revenge, not another war, just a single, humbling word. Learn.
And then, in a move no one could have predicted, humanity follows up, not with an army, but with one unarmed diplomat, Dr. Jackson Webb. He shows up alone and hands them a gift, a data crystal with everything humanity knows about science, everything they need to catch up. Well, everything except how to build better weapons. And finally, we get the real reason for all this. Humanity isn't just doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. They need allies. Because there are much older, much scarier things out there in the dark. Things that see both humans and Qanian as nothing more than germs. The humiliation of the Qanian was just step one in getting them ready for a much bigger fight. So, this all leaves us with a really profound question. Humanity has just handed its oldest enemy the keys to creation, not just destruction. But can an empire that's been conquering for 10,000 years really change its entire nature? And will it even be enough to face the real threat that's on its way? It seems the real war has only just begun.